Sahaviryam karavavahai Yasvinavahitamastu ma vidvishavahai Shanti Shanti Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-pada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra-bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. So we have seen Pratignya Bhashya. The Pratignya is that the problem is due to, the samsara is due to the adhyasa between the Atma and Anatma. This is the Pratignya. And this alone will be the basis for the entire Shastram. Pratignya becomes the basis for the following everything. The entire unfoldment is on the basis of this Pratignya Vakya. The Pratignya is that the suffering is due to self-error. And the self-error is in the form of mistaking the subject for the object. And the error is anadi. And it is there because of the non-discerning because there is no discerning done between the subject and the object. This is all the body of Pratignya. The problem is suffering, and it is due to the self-error. And the nature of the self-error is in the form of wrong identification. That's mistaking the self for what it is not. And it is anadi. And it is something that is there because of lack of vichara. In fact, there are two ways of saying it. This error is there due to lack of vichara. Or we can say error is there due to lack of knowledge. Agrahanam can be the reason. Agrahanam can be the reason for anyatha grahanam. Or avichara. Vichara bhava. Because I don't really look at it, it continues. You see, and therefore, the better way, why is error there is a better question than why did it come about? Because the error does not come about, the error is. That is a big breakthrough in thinking. Why is error there? Why is the suffering there? Why is the suffering there? Why is the error there? And the reason is lack of vichara. Therefore, due to lack of reflection, due to lack of discerning between the subject and the object, the error is. And it is anadi. It is not an event that can be traced to time. And that is the reason for suffering. If the self-error is the reason for suffering, the Pratignya Vakyam includes that you have no way out of suffering except through knowledge. This is all really a part of Pratignya Vakyam, the first stage, the opening statement. The problem is suffering. Man suffers, and the reason for it is self-error. And the self-error is there due to lack of vichara. And therefore, there is no way out of suffering except through the correction of the self-error. Is the pratigna, and this continues throughout the unfoldment. This pratigna vakyam continues. Now we are going to see adhyase shanka. This is what we have. Regarding the adhyasa, there is a doubt. A doubter doubts like this. Tatra shanka granthasya ayam abhipraya. The following is the abhipraya. The following is the thinking behind the doubt. The following is the view behind the doubt. What is the doubt? Tadetad upavarnyate. This is what we have to do. Tadetad upavarnyate. This is what is described. The thinking behind this doubt is described. What is the doubt? Atmanatmanoho itaretara adhyasaha eva nimittam loka vyavaharasya iti. The doubt is that the life presupposes self-error. Vyavahara means the entire life is vyavahara. Breathing is vyavahara, perception is vyavahara, thinking is vyavahara, karma is vyavahara. In fact, anything in contrast to being is vyavahara. Life is vyavahara. So the one who doubts, he says that looking upon life as something that presupposes self-error is something that can be called in doubt, that can be called into question. He says, nimittam loka vyavahara chaiti tanna upapadyate, it's not tenable. The doubter means to say, it is not logically correct to say life presupposes self-error. It's not correct to say that this life presupposes bhranti. Life presupposes bhranti, is not logically tenable. Now he has to explain away the illogicality in it. He has to make it very clear. He says, you said that the confusion is between the self and the body. The self is seen for the body and the body for the self. It's called a mutual confusion. Even the body is seen to have consciousness as its quality, which is a confusion. This object doesn't have consciousness as its quality, but the body is seen as having sentiency, consciousness as its quality, So the inert body being seen to have a quality like consciousness is definitely an error. The totally inert is perceived as sentient. The insentient is perceived as sentient. The insentient body is perceived as sentient. That is an error. And the pure sentiency, the subject, is seen as the body. I am the body. So, the subject is confused, the subject is judged the form. The subject is judged the body, and the inert body, the insentient body, is judged sentient. Thus the sentiency of the self is imposed on the body, and the inertness of the body is imposed on the self. The inertness of the body is thrown on the self, and the sentiency of the self is thrown on the body. This is what you say, confusion. Okay, sir, the doubter wants to ask this question. Sir, if you say that there is a confusion between the subject and the object, it is generally not acceptable. Why? Because Adhyaso hi nama bhrantya samaropa. Adhyasa by definition is confusion. Adhyaso hi nama, adhyasa indeed, bhrantya through bhranti, samaropa, imposing something on something else. Imposing a quality on something which that something doesn't have. You see, mistaking one noun for another noun. Also mistaking a noun to have certain qualities which it actually doesn't have. In this manner, noun confusion and adjective confusion is what is called bhrantya samaropa, is called confusion. Saja samana svabhavayoreva sambhavati. But that kind of confusion is possible only between the things which are similar. This is a topic to be analyzed. We can confuse a form for another form. We can't confuse a form for a sound. We can't confuse a form for a sound. We can't confuse a form for a taste. We can't confuse a form for touch or smell. A form can be confused for another form. A sound can be confused for another sound. An object of one given taste can be confused with another taste. Of one touch can be confused with another touch. Like this, one smell confused with another smell. Ho jata hai. So what the doubter wants to say is, samana svabhavayoreva. Only between objects of the same nature. The objects of some similarity can be confused with one another. Like, you can mistake a snake on the road. You can't mistake really an elephant on it. It should be not only a form, it should be something akin to it. On the rope, you can mistake a snake all right, but nobody imposes an elephant on the rope. That's not done. That's not possible. We always have this example of Rajju Sarpa Bhranti. We don't have the example of Rajju Hasti Bhranti. Rajju Hasti Bhranti is not there. Rajju Sarpa Bhranti is there. So now I have conveyed 2 points. Form can be confused. Sound can have confusion. Taste, touch, smell. This is one point. The second point is, even when you impose a form upon another form, the form that we impose must be akin to the form. The snake is akin to the rope. The rope is long. The snake also has a length. The rope has a certain shape. The snake also has a certain shape. So things of similar shape can be imposed on things. Things can be imposed on other things which have similar shape also. So one is similar nature, the other is the similar shape. These 2 things you can remember. Form can be confused, etc. And even when we impose a form upon another form, then it must have a similar shape. This is what the doubter thinks. This is not what Vedanta thinks. This is what the doubter thinks. Samana svabhavayoreva sambhavati. Natu, but not. Viruddha svabhavayoho. There can't be any confusion between 2 opposites. There can be a confusion between 2 similars. So form is a similarity, and similarity of shape also is similarity. Form is similarity. Both are forms is one similarity. and both have a similar shape. That is also a kind of similarity. So we can really go by one word called similarity. That is called samana svabhava. Therefore, between two similars there can be a confusion, but between two totally dissimilars, actually between two opposites, there can't be any confusion. He says, natu viruddha svabhavayo. And when you are talking about the subject and the object and the object have virodha. They don't have similarity, they have total dissimilarity. Viruddha svabhavaucha atma anatmanav. Atma and anatma, the self and the non-self, they are totally opposite. You are saying, I am not saying, you are saying there is confusion between the self and the body which are totally opposite to each other. And you are also saying, the doubter is saying to the Siddhanti, my dear Siddhanti, you are yourself saying that the self and the body are as opposed as even the light and the darkness. You are yourself saying that the self and the body are opposed to each other like the light and the darkness. So you yourself are saying it. So, but then the confusion that we know of in the world is always between two similars, but not between two total dissimilar, two opposites. Natu viruddha svabhavayoho. And Atma and Atma are indeed mentioned by you as totally opposed to each other. Ataha, therefore, na anyonya samaropana arhau. Therefore, the self, the light, and the body, the darkness, cannot be confused from each other. They are not available to be confused for each other. Two forms are available to be confused for each other. Two sounds can be confused for each other. Two objects can be confused for each other. But two opposites like the self and the body cannot be confused for each other. Ataha na anyonya samaropana arha. Arha means deserved. They are not qualified to be confused. I would like to translate, they are not available to be confused. The light and the darkness cannot be mistaken for each other. The self and the body cannot be mistaken for each other. Katham punaha tayoho viruddha svabhavata iti. Now the doubter continues, he says, now let me explain how there is virodha between the self and the body. So whatever the Siddhanti said, how the Siddhanti described the opposition between the self and the body, all that is going to be restated by this doubter. The doubter said, the doubter now is going to say, sir, you are going to say, you yourself said, there is opposition between the self and the body. How did you say? Yushmadasmat pratyaya gocharatvat. You said that the self and the body being felt, being experienced as the object of, through the aham pratyaya, asmat pratyaya gochara. The self is felt through the I thought. And the body is felt as an object of you thought. You thought means an object of thought. So, the truth is brought into vyavahara. You know, the truth is, if it has to be thought, it has to be only through I thought. It cannot be thought in any other manner. Consciousness cannot be felt. Consciousness, one can be conscious. But if you want to, if it has to be captured in thought, it is always in the form of I, aham, me. It becomes an object of I thought. Otherwise, it remains without being an object of thought. Like in deep sleep state, one remains the self without becoming an object of thought. I want you to understand this point. Truth which is never an object of thought, if it ever becomes an object of thought, it can never become an object of you thought. It can only become an object of I thought. Therefore, the truth in every living in the case of every living being, the truth is felt as I. Asmat pratyaya vishaya. And the truth which is not an object of I thought. In fact, the truth which is not an object of any thought, if it becomes an object of I thought, that is what is called the truth becoming a jiva. The Paramatma becomes a jiva. That which is not an object of asmat pratyaya. And therefore here it says, that which is not an object of any pratyaya, if it becomes an object of asmat pratyaya. Thus, in this manner, sir, the body is felt as an object of this thought, you thought. This also, it doesn't matter, it's a thought of this. And the Atma is felt as an object of I thought. And the body is seen as any object is always in the form of an object. It is an object of Yushmat Pratyaya. Yushmat Asmat Pratyaya Gocharatvati Vishaya Vishayitva Bhavacha. Vishaya Vishayi Bhavacha. So the doubter says, sir, you said that Atma is Asmat Pratyaya Vishaya and the body is Yushmat Pratyaya Vishaya. In other words, the Asmat Pratyaya Vishaya, the self, is Vishayi. It is Asmat Pratyaya Vishaya. But even when it becomes an object of I thought, it doesn't really become an object, it continues to be the subject. That is the object. Even though we call it an object of I thought, even though we call it an object of I thought, even though we call it an object of I thought, but it doesn't become an object. It continues to be the subject, Vishayi. Therefore here it says, Vishaya Vishayi Bhavan. When it comes to the body is an object of Idam Pratyaya or Yushmat Pratyaya. It is an object. Not only it is an object of Idam Pratyaya, it continues to be an object. Therefore, the nature of the subject continues to be the subject, and the nature of the body continues to be the object. And even though the subject it is felt as I, it is looked upon as Aham Pratyaya Vishaya, but it doesn't become Pratyaya Vishaya. It looks Pratyaya Vishaya but continues to be Vishayi. Amazing situation. Amazing situation. And that situation is that even though it is an object, it looks to be an object of I thought. It looks to be an object of I thought, but it continues to be the subject. Even I thought cannot make the subject an object. I thought can pertain to the subject, but it cannot make it an object. Therefore, Vishaya Vishayi Bhavacha. Thus, You are saying that there is confusion between the subject and the object, between the self and the body. But you are yourself saying there is total virodha, opposition between the subject and the body. But as we know about the confusion, it is always between two similars. It is never between two dissimilars, and definitely not between two opposites. The confusion we see one object for another object. We mistake sand for water. Water is an object. Sand also is an object. We mistake the rope for snake. Both of them are objects. I can mistake a wooden elephant, or I can mistake a clay elephant for a real elephant, because both are objectifiable, both are visible, both are forms. Both are forms. In this manner, as we know, the confusion is always between two similars. But here, the self and the body are totally dissimilar. Not only dissimilar, they are totally opposite. How can there be any mistake? Therefore, life doesn't presuppose self-confusion. This Purvapakshi wants to say. What the Purvapakshi wants to prove is that the life doesn't presuppose self-confusion. Alright, then what do you want to prove? There is no use of studying Shastra. There is no use of studying Shastra. Why? Because Shastra is meant to correct the self-confusion, but self-confusion is not there. Shastrasya anarthakyam, meaning your entire scripture is of no use. Your Vedic culture, your Vedic scripture is of no use at all. Why? Because there is no self-confusion. Why there is no self-confusion? Because there can't be any confusion between the self and the body. Why there can't be any confusion? Because both of them are opposed to each other. Then why can't it happen between two opposites? No, because confusion is known to us to happen only between two similars. This is the entire topic. This is how the doubter is thinking. Vishaya Vishayid Bhavacha Tatra Der Atma Tavat Asmat Pratyaya Gocharaha. Atma is the topic of I thought. Truth is felt by I thought. What is felt as me is directly the truth, really. What is felt as me is directly the truth, but made an object of I thought. Why? Because that particular situation of thinking that me is a thought, and that thought pertains to the truth, and that me can be transcended. That thought can be transcended. That thinking. Me is the being, but looked upon as an object of thought. And therefore, the Atma being Asmat Pratyaya Gochara. Why it is called Pratyaya? It's very beautiful now. It's all grammar. I will try to explain why this I thought is called a thought. How do we explain this word Pratyaya? You see, there, I say I have a thought of a table. The table is an object of my thought. The table is not present in the thought. The table is an object of my thought. The table is an object of my thought. Every object is an object of my thought. But the subject cannot be, strictly speaking, cannot be an object of I thought. Even though we call it an object of thought, but strictly speaking, it is never an object of I thought. Therefore, Even though we call the self an object of I thought, that word pratyaya must be explained a little differently without causing any contradiction. And that is said here, pratiyate anena asminva iti pratyaya. I thought is something. I thought is something through which the truth is brought into vyavahara. This is one definition. I thought is something through which the truth is brought. Pratiyate. It is brought into vyavakriyate. Pratiyate means is vyavakriyate. Pratiyate does not mean is evident. It is self-evident. What is self-evident is brought into vyavahara through I thought. Atma is brought, the avyavaharya Atma, that which the truth that transcends the vyavahara is brought into vyavahara by the I thought. This is one meaning of the word aham pratyaya. The I thought is called pratyaya because through this pratyaya, the truth that transcends all vyavahara is brought into vyavahara, of course, as an error. It is brought into vyavahara as an error. Another way of looking at it is asminniti va pratyaya. I thought is that pratiyate asmin. Truth is evident in the thought. The truth is evident as the very adhishthanam of that pratyaya. Truth is evident as the adhishthanam of the aham pratyaya. Truth is also evident as identified with that aham pratyaya. Therefore, aham pratyaya has to be defined like this. Atma is something that is brought into vyavahara by this pratyaya. Atma is brought into vyavahara by this, therefore it is called pratyaya. Atma is brought into vyavahara by this, therefore it is called pratyaya. Pratiyate anena iti pratyaya. Or what is luminously present in which, that is also called pratyaya. Truth is evident in that aham pratyaya. Thus, Atma is only looked upon, the self is always looked at as the subject matter of I thought. As the subject matter of I thought. Pratiyate anena asminniti va pratyaya. Or ahamiti pratyaya asmat pratyaya means the same thing. Asmat pratyaya means aham pratyaya. I thought. This is the description of the self-self. According to you, hey Siddhanti, Purvapakshi is saying, according to you, the Atma is the subject matter of I thought. Okay? And it is not imagination that the Atma is always felt as me. It is not imagination, it is universally felt. Sarvoti, every living being, Atmanam, apne aap ko, ahamiti pratyeti, everybody looks at oneself as aham. Everybody experiences himself as me. Therefore, Atma is always felt as me. Atma is always felt as aham, which means it is felt as an object of aham pratyaya. Call it aham pratyaya, call it asmat pratyaya. Felt as the subject. Iti pratyeti. Therefore, that the Atma is asmat pratyaya vishaya, that the Atma is aham pratyaya vishaya, It is not a matter of speculation, it is not a matter of imagination, it is not a matter of inference, it is not a matter of presumption, it is not a matter of belief, it is universally experienced. That the Atma is an object of Aham Pratyaya is universally evident, there is no need for any debate. Sarvohi Atmanam Ahamaham iti pratyeti nacha asmat pratyayam vina, and without that I thought, without thinking the self, without entertaining a thought about the self, asmat pratyayam vina kadachit kabhi bhavati atma vyavahara gocharaha na bhavati atma vyavahara gocharaha. Atma can never enter the realm of vyavahara. Without that, I thought. Very beautiful. Truth cannot be felt to the breather, cannot be felt to the pramata, cannot be felt to the thinker, cannot be felt to the individual, cannot be felt at all. It cannot be brought into the realm of vyavahara without the help of that I thought. Therefore, aham pratyaya is something that brings the reality that transcends vyavahara into vyavahara. This is the way life is vyavahara. I am walking, talking, I am seeing, hearing, I am breathing, I am hungry, thirsty, I am. Every thought about oneself presupposes the asmat pratyaya. Nacha atma pratyayam vina, asmat pratyayam vina kadachit bhavati atma vyavahara gocharaha. Asmat pratyaya eva cha. Asmat pratyaye eva, that a, only in asmat pratyaya, only in the I thought is the subject evident. Asmat pratyaye eva cha. Gochari bhavati becomes evident. Asau, this self, natu pratyayantare, but in other pratyayas it is not evident. Even though Siddhanti talks about the presence of Atma in every pratyaya, that is different matter. But every other pratyaya, the thought about the table only pertains to the table, not me. The thought about the tree pertains only to the tree, not to me. The thought about a rock pertains only to the rock, not about me. Ghata, pata, tata, mata, all these various objects. Thoughts pertaining to objects pertain only to them, not pertain to the self. Therefore, truth is evident where? Only in the I thought. Me. When you say me, that entire me is the truth. It is the truth felt by the I thought. Why do you want to say, why do you want to describe I as a thought? Because when I look at myself, I always look at myself as one of the many. Truth is not one of the many, but the I as an individual is one of the many. That means it has become an object of thought. And therefore, truth is evident only, the subject is evident only in the I thought. Asmat pratyaye eva cha gochari bhavati asau natu pratyayantare, but not in other pratyayas. Ataha, therefore, asmat pratyaya gocharaha. Therefore, the truth is called asmat pratyaya gocharaha because it is evident only in the I thought. It is called the topic of I thought bus. It's called the object of I thought. It is called felt by I thought. It is called asmat pratyaya gocharaha because it is felt only in the asmat pratyaya. Now this particular logic you can understand. Supposing the truth were evident through other thoughts also, then it cannot be described as asmat pratyaya. If Brahma Vidya were available through Pratyakshadi Pramanas also, if Brahma Vidya were available even through Pratyaksha, Anumana, Ityadi Pramanas, then Brahma Vidya should not be, that Brahman would not have been described as Aupanishadaha Purushaha, the truth that is the being of the Upanishads, the truth of the Upanishads. It is said Brahman is described always as the truth of the Upanishads. Why? Because it is unfolded only in the Upanishads. In the same manner, Atma is called Asmat Pratyaya Vishayaha because it is effulgent, it is evident only in the Asmat Pratyaya, not Yushmat Pratyaya. And therefore he says, Ataha Asmat Pratyaya Gocharaha. Kincha, further, Ayam Atma, this self, Vishayitvena eva, as the subject alone, Asmakam, for us, Jnana Patham Avatarati, it is felt. It gets Jnana Patham Avatarati means it is known, it comes to be known to us. It comes to be felt by us only as the subject. Truth comes to be felt by us. Truth comes to be known to us only as the subject. Vishayitvenaiva asmakam jnanapatham avatarati. It can never be known as an object. It is felt only as the subject. Even though it is an object of aham pratyaya, but it never becomes the pratyaya vishaya. It continues to be evident as the vishayi, the subject. Vishayitvenaiva asmakam jnanapatham avatarati. This is the nature of the subject, sir, as you have described. The Purvapakshi is saying, you have described Atma as something that is always evident as the subject. Nahi kaschit anatma and nahi kaschit anatma and no object. Na kaschit anatma means no object. Jatu chit atmanam apne aap ko enam and isko स्वज्ञानेना and अपने ज्ञान से विषयीकर्तुम उत्साहते. An object cannot illumine the subject. As the subject I know the object, but the object doesn't know the subject. An object not only doesn't know the subject, in fact an object doesn't know itself also. Now why is being so elaborate on this? Just to show the opposition. Between the subject and the object there is opposition. If there is opposition, then there can't be any adhyasa. If there can't be any adhyasa, then you don't have to study the Shastram to correct it. Therefore there is no, this is the whole Purva. In fact, every Purvapaksha ultimately wants to prove Shastram is of no use. Pramanam is of no use. Svajnanena vishayikattum utsahate. In fact, if I translate it as it is, an object dare not know the subject. But an object has no capacity to know the subject. In fact, an object cannot know its own existence. This is something that strikes me a lot. The most beautiful contrast is the universe is not aware of itself. Huge universe, the creation. This universe is unlimited, the vast, mighty universe is not aware of itself. It is the subject to the observer who is aware of the universe. In fact, it is the subject who is also aware of himself. I made this point long ago. In fact, there is oneness between the universe and the subject because both are known at the same point. It is the subject who knows. It is by the subject the universe is known. It is by the subject is known. Where both are known, the point that illumines the subject is the subject. And the point that illumines the universe is the subject. Therefore, the root of both is one and the same. The illuminer of both the subject and the object is the subject. And therefore, there cannot be any division. Therefore, there is ananyatvam, the inner to the universe is non-separate from the subject. And therefore, thus there is a opposition between the subject and the object because the Atma is asmatratye vishayaha, number one, and it is something that knows the object, whereas the object doesn't know the subject. Next line you see, anatmanaha jnanasya eva asambhavat. Why an object cannot know the subject? That is because an object, it is not possible for an object to know. It is not sentient. It can never know. Even though some people explain like this, an object cannot know because it doesn't have a mind. An object cannot know because it doesn't have a mind. That's not the right explanation. An object cannot know because it is inert, but it is not conscious. Only a conscious being can have a mind. The inert object cannot have a mind. That is why in yesterday's class, if you really observe that point, it will help you a lot in deep reflection. That is, it is the truth that had decided, that felt, let me have a mind. In yesterday's class, in the Brihadaranyaka class, matter never thinks, let me have a mind. It is the truth to that thought, let me have a mind. Atmanvisyamiti. May I have a mind. That means the mind is enjoyed by the truth. Mind is not enjoyed by the body. Thought is carried by the truth. And therefore, now if you can follow this point, therefore when we say an object cannot know, not because it doesn't have the mind, that's because it cannot have the mind, it is inert by nature. Because it is the conscious being that can have a mind. It is the conscious being that can illumine the mind also. It is the conscious being that can illumine everything. Therefore, it is by nature inert. What is by nature inert cannot know. Whereas the subject is by nature conscious. Therefore, it can know. And there are only two things to know. To be aware of its existence plus aware of the universe. Like the light is bright. and it also lights up the object. Therefore it is illumining. Itself is self-luminous and illumines the object. Itself is self-luminous, illumines the object. The subject is self-luminous and illumines the universe. And therefore, thus there is a virodha between the subject and the object. Anatmanaha jnanasya eva asambhavat. Just one more line. Ayam tu atma, whereas this self, sarvameva, everything, swajnanena, apni jnana se, vishayi karoti, objectifies. When it comes to the subject, it illumines the whole universe. What can be aware of the form? It can know the form. It can know the sound, it can know the taste, touch, smell. It has known the whole universe. Because the entire universe is only 5, entire creation. And it knows the time, it knows the space, it knows the form, sound, taste, touch, smell. And therefore, the entire universe is known by the subject, sarvam. Apni jnana, swajnanena vishayi karoti. It illumines. Okay, the subject illumines the whole universe, that is okay. But who illumines the subject? The self. It is self-evident. It illumines, it is self-luminous. Atma is self-luminous. And remaining self-luminous illumines everything else. Whereas an object is neither luminous, it is inert, nor can it illumine others. Neither it can know itself, nor it can know anything else. In this manner, there is total opposition between the self and the body, and therefore between the two opposites there can't be any confusion. Confusion can be there only between two similars, not between two opposites. Why are you studying Shastra? Because you cannot use Shastra to correct any self-confusion, because there is no confusion. Iti who says? Purva Pakshi. See, they will continue it later. Hari Om, Hari Om. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva, Vasishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.